Are you trying to talk to me, Jeremy? You can't hear me?
We can now. Can you hear us?
We were trying to hear you, but we couldn't hear you.
My phone's on.
There you go. Do you hear us now?
I don't know why.
You can't hear us, but we can hear you. I mean, the IT guy in me just says turn it off and turn it back on again. So, oh yeah, Kathy, I would try to leave and rejoin maybe.
You just texted me you can hear me.
Oh, we can now.
No, I can now. Yes, we
Why
can
can't
now.
I hear you guys?
You were muted.
My volume.
But we can't hear you.
That's weird.
Oh, I can hear her, but I don't think she can hear me.
Do we have transcribing on? Yeah, it appears that we do. Apologies for the public here while we deal with technology.
The bane of my existence.
How do I?
Kathy, try to leave the meeting and rejoin.
Texting her that now.
Oh, that's right. She can't hear us.
Oh. Well, it wouldn't be a board meeting if we didn't have technical difficulties.
That's okay.
Now I hear.
Hey, can you hear us?
I don't know why I couldn't before, but I was like, why is he showing me my poster on my phone?
Sorry. I didn't show the number. Okay.
Now
You
can
can hear us?
everyone hear?
Right here, I didn't get the call. That's
Okay.
how I miss calls.
Okay, let's get started. It's 6:05. It's January the 7th, 2026, and this is the meeting of the Hartford Board of School Directors. We will call the meeting to order. Do we have any changes or additions to the agenda? All right, seeing or and not seeing anyone with their hands up and not hearing anyone, I am going to presume that everyone is okay with it. And do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, all opposed? Okay. And so the motion is approved. We're going to go to the governance process, section 4, policy GP2, report out, update of Act 73, redistricting, proficiency-based graduation requirements. And we're going to turn it over to Katie to do all of that for us.
Thank you. Zach, I did send you my presentation. I do not have the capability to share my screen, so I'm not sure if you got that and could share your screen.
Not yet. Let's do this.
There we go.
Zach, I think you need
I can make myself.
Thank you. All right, great. And great, here we go. So I put together a presentation for you all and for the public just to give you an idea of where we are right now on Act 73 as we enter into the legislative session. So Zach, you can go to the next slide, please. So just today, some of you may have caught the governor's State of the State address. If you haven't, one thing that you can do, and I will share this presentation, and I'm also planning to include it in the district newsletter, which goes out on Friday. So the presentation includes some live links to news coverage, which you can see throughout the presentation, which I will be referring to, but you can also access those links yourself when I share this with you. So the governor, in case you missed the State of the State, spent the duration of his speech on ed reform and on Act 73. So 35 minutes were really spent on remaining, as you know, this article indicates, bullish on ed reform. So, you know, from the governor's perspective, it is full steam ahead on Act 73. And as Jacob and I presented at the last board meeting, those numbers that are being shared pretty broadly right now from the governor's office and some state legislators to encourage legislators in this session to stay the course on ed reform continue to show up, so that, you know, 40% increase over 5 years, 12% increase this year, which we presented last time. And Jacob, I think, is going to reiterate some of this in his presentation, is not the case in the Hartford School District. Those are averages that spread across the state. So the governor was very focused on ed reform in his address. And all of the news coverage of his State of the State address is very much focused on staying the course on Act 73 and on ed reform. Zach, you can move forward in the slides, please. So one thing I featured, I think you might have skipped over a slide, Zach. I think there's one before this. Thank you. So I wanted to give you an idea of what some of the other leaders in the legislature are also saying right now. One speech that was brought to my attention, and I know many other superintendents as well, was the Senate floor speech by Senator Phil Baruth. He gave that speech on the floor on the opening day of the Senate, which was just yesterday. And he plans to put forth a bill that would put allowable growth caps on the next 2 fiscal years, potentially 2027 and 2028. He didn't disclose what those limits would be, but his contention is that, you know, even the reforms offered through Act 73 are not going to go into effect quickly enough to provide tax relief for community members in Vermont. So obviously you can imagine that there were a variety of reactions to that proposal, one of which was the executive director of the Vermont School Boards Association, who came out to say, you know, basically, you know, if we don't address the cost drivers in the increases to school budgets, you're basically going to, you know, cut core academic services, because we can't control healthcare increases. We can't control what we need to do in terms of infrastructure projects, which we know very well here in the Hartford School District. And so not addressing those cost drivers and those factors that are out of school districts' control would basically be, you know, punishing to core academic services and to students. So that's going to be something that is put forth soon. So I wanted just to give the board and the public a heads up that that's probably going to be the first kind of wave of proposals in the legislature. All right, Zach, you can proceed here. All right, House Speaker Jill Krowinski. She also came out early on, right before the session started, to say that she wanted to move forward with Act 73. Since that, she also has said in response to Senator Baruth's proposal to put caps on spending over the next 2 years, that she warned against, layering basically on mandates on top of what already is going to be significant ed reform through Act 73, if the legislature moves forward on that act as it is laid out. So a bit of like a mix from Speaker Krowinski in thinking about wanting to provide relief, but also wanting to be careful about what we're layering on top of what, and what potential impact and kind of like perhaps byproducts that could happen, that could be implications of not fully vetting some of these proposals. You can advance the slide, please, Zach. And then there's Democratic Chair of the House of the Ed Committee, Representative Peter Conlin. And, he is, I guess, having the approach of like a wait and see. And that, they're still going to be wrestling with some big questions throughout the session in thinking about what the best path forward will be. So he, hesitated to kind of weigh in too specifically on some of the things that have been put forth, including Senator Baruth's proposal and some of the, and as well as commenting on what the redistricting task force put forward as well. So there's a link there as well to his comments and a quote there from that article. Zach, you can move forward. So what impact could this have on our budget, I think is the question that people would like to know. And what I can say right now is that there are a number of potentials, right? There's a potential spending cap per pupil that could go into effect for next fiscal year's budget and the following, before the related potential foundation formula goes into effect through Act 73. So it remains to be seen when a foundation formula might be implemented, and is largely dependent upon some of these other things happening first, which was, first step was the redistricting task force, in theory, presenting district maps. And as we know, that is not what that committee, decided to do. So before a foundation formula can go into effect, there needs to be district mapping that guides how that foundation formula would apply. I think it's fair to say, and Jacob can endorse this, that both of those potentials could lead to a significant reduction in our budget as it stands. All right, Zach, next slide, please. So, this is my last slide here, which, we don't ultimately know where this leaves the Hartford School District. I think what we do know is that we're going to continue to follow the legislative session really closely, and that, we're going to continue to provide opportunities for updates. I will be doing that through my newsletter. And I think it could be a good idea to host another opportunity for our community to have some FaceTime with local legislators. So I will be working on that as well. And I'm also just open to the board's ideas about other ways we can engage our community in these conversations. And in particular, in thinking about the potential implications of what the legislature is looking at throughout this session. And, ultimately, we're going to continue to focus on what we do best and what we're here to do, which is provide the best education. I mean, unbiased, we are in the state to our students, and to continue to offer all of the opportunities and experiences that they enjoy now. Any questions? That was the last slide.
Now I am. Thanks, Katie. That was very good. Does anyone have any questions or any comments? I will make one comment because I did listen to the 2 o'clock announcements. But I am a bit more concerned than I was about what Governor Scott is saying, how he's saying it. I think it's going to be a hard year. And I'll throw one more comment in there just because I can. And nobody can throw a dart at me right at the moment. I listened to hours of when the task force was going, and I have to say that I so completely agree with the decision that they finally came to. It just all the task that they were given, I think, was very it could not be done in the time frame that it was to be done in to begin with. And the more I listened to them and the more that I did some more research on my own and talked to other people, was the fact that that just the way that the governor wanted that to be concluded. I personally don't think it would have worked at all. And I was very glad when they finally stood up and said, this is not going to work for the maps.
Can you
all the
run
mapping.
that by me one more time? Was the cap in spending that they're proposing on infrastructure or student spending, or both?
On school budgets, but ultimately that bears out through cost per pupil.
So could this be also to protect potential taxpayer dollars from making very large investments in schools? I'm not necessarily, is it to limit to basically put guardrails up on what schools are doing potentially before they try to redistrict everything?
That's certainly, I mean, I can answer, Jacob, you can answer, Aaron, any of you as well. But, I do know that there was a few years ago, or Jacob, was that 2 or 3 years ago, when, we were able to get our bond approved just before that would have been considered part of our overall number in terms of, cost per pupil spending. And that would have absolutely brought us above the excess spending threshold. So I do think there are some hypotheses out there that would say that, it is a way of kind of putting in some limitations to what districts can do in terms of certainly capital improvements.
Right. Okay. That's good.
So any capital, so I guess a little more on that. So any capital improvement, like any infrastructure improvement, would either not be able to move, you either wouldn't be able to move forward with it, or it would need to be approved at the state level before you could spend dollars on it?
No, not really. I think that, and Jacob could clarify this, but with the excess spending guidelines, the bond payments are outside of that, and that's what was done a couple of years ago. And
Right.
and basically, so we're in the situation where you have to work underneath that line with everything else, and that's where it gets, tenuous. Especially.
So
go ahead.
debt service prior to July 1st, 2024 is excluded from your per pupil spending. We have that as an exclusion on our per pupil spending. Any debt service after that date gets added to your ed spending.
So
I guess that's my question. So after the bond, so the bond
Right.
is is grandfathered, if you will, but moving forward, any other capital improvements either can't happen or need to be approved by the state, or we just need to absorb it. And so you're saying that we would need to potentially like cut programs if we need to replace the windows in one of the schools, something along those lines. I know that's just an example. Is that, I guess, how it would work moving forward?
That's how it was explained to me.
Well, yeah, it's got to fit under, the cap, basically, but the thing is, you're going to see some districts that go ahead and say, okay, we'll accept the penalty, but yet, that's not a good way to go forward, obviously.
Something that I think that we as a board need to be really thoughtful of and talking about more, because it will affect us. Anything else? Thanks, Kevin. All right, report out budget update. State of the state. CLAs. I'm reading this halfway in my dark house. Calculator sheet and excess spending threshold, impact of negotiations, and different versions of the budget. Our Director of Finance, Jacob.
All right. Zach. Yep. Thank you. So we have a little presentation for you tonight just to kind of go through some things. I'll expand a little bit more and go in depth, and we'll go from there. So just here's kind of a state of the state. As we mentioned in our previous presentation that Katie and I did at the last board meeting, there was kind of some talk that the average increase was going to be about 12%. Currently, with this version of the budget, we're looking at 9.3%. And then, as it was stated, the increase over the last 5 years was, 40%, but obviously that was not true for Hartford, where we've seen our homestead tax rate increase about 23%. So nearly 20%. I think we're doing fairly well. Next slide, please. So when we're talking about the long-term weighted average, that's LTWA for those who are not so with the abbreviations, and the CLA, which is the common level of appraisal. This year has been quite a challenge with trying to get the numbers. I mean, it wasn't until this Monday that we finally got our final version of the long-term weighted average. And I think we went through something like 13 or 14 versions, which when you're talking about less than 80,000 kids in the state of Vermont here for 800,000 for, K-12, it's concerning to me that we have so much trouble counting these kids. And I would implore on our legislators, like, can we not find a better way to count these kids? But I digress. That's my hill to die on. And we finally got our CLA number. Obviously, they were giving us a number of 141%, but that actually came in at 140.89%. Zach, can you bring up the presentation, please?
Oops, sorry. This slide's a little short.
Okay. Next slide, please. So when we're talking about some of the factors that are affecting our budget that are out of our control, obviously the biggest would be the healthcare. I know the tentative rate for the gold CHP was about the 7.4% increase. which I think we were all pretty glad that it's not double digit. But when you look at, the increases over the last 5 years of about 56%, it's a real cost that continues to grow and be a bigger part of our budget. And I will say that part of this budget, I did bump up the HRA funds as far as the percentage that we're budgeting for. Because keeping in mind that when the plans changed, we're now on the hook for the $1. I mean, it used to be like the employer was either on the hook for the first, $400, $800. Then that changed a couple years ago, and we have seen a pretty steady increase in the utilization rates. So obviously we want to be covered, so I bumped that up a little bit. Obviously, inflation continues to be a factor for all of us, whether we're looking at prices at the grocery store or fuel, contracted services, utilities, any of that other stuff. When we looked at the Northeast region, we're looking at inflation at about 3.1%. And then, of course, some of the unfunded legislative mandates, whether it's, PCBs, lead testing, water testing, and those things, continue to be factors that impact the budget and what we're spending, how much we are purchasing power, and all that stuff. And then, of course, we're in the middle of negotiations with all three of our contracts. And those are sort of moving along. I know teachers were aiming to get their salary increase at least settled by the time we finalize the budget next Wednesday, which should hopefully be settled pretty soon. Next slide, please. And then, of course, when we're talking about the excess spending threshold that somebody had mentioned earlier, that's set by the state of Vermont. This year, it's set at 16,470. And with our current ed spending less the exclusions, we're at 16,066 and 12 cents. So that's, obviously we have all our total expenses and everything. We take out the debt service, and that gets us down below the excess spending threshold, because I think it's irresponsible to be above that. I know I wouldn't want to do that in Hartford to our taxpayers where they're paying more and a penalty. It's not a road that I want to go down, and I don't think it's sustainable for anyone. Next slide, please. Are there any questions from the board? And I'll preface this first. Is there a specific number from the board that we're thinking that taxpayers are going to be okay with? I mean, currently on the homestead, we're at about 9.3%, and on the kind of income sensitized, we're at 3.7%. And this includes a $1.6 million buy down to get there. But I would just love to hear from the board some feedback or what your thoughts are, because I mean, I'm not a Hartford taxpayer, I'm a stakeholder, being from Heartland. But certainly, if y'all have any idea about what people are going to be willing to support and afford.
Well, I
I
think
think that's a loaded question.
if I
Yeah, go
may,
ahead, Coach.
from the Northeast region perspective, which is what we've used for a number of years, in our discussions, it seems to be, realistic as far as, let's say, a number. And what that, does is it puts the district in a position where it can do some planning, because of time, we only have a week, can do some planning, around, you know, final offers, settlements, things of that sort that need to be achieved before we lock down the budget. And, we've kind of been here, before. And when we've looked at the data, the most reflective has generally been that Northeast region percentage. So I'm just showing that as a historical precept.
I guess I just want to comment. I mean, I feel like last year we talked about trying to not budget scared, because that's, I mean, in my short experience as a board member, every budget season has been like going into it budgeting scared, because everything that the state says tends to be kind of scary about healthcare increases or, proposed property tax increase percentages that we see, and all those things kind of get everybody all fired up. But I don't know, kind of filtering out all that noise, my thing is, what do we need at Hartford to deliver the level of education that we want? What does that number look like, instead of going into budget season scared and wondering like what percentage would everybody be okay with? I mean, I figure it would be much easier to defend a budget number and like talk to taxpayers about it when we talk about like, what do we actually need to do the things that we want to do in the district. So that's just my 2 cents.
Hey, Jeremy, you look like you want to say something.
No, it was said.
Oh.
No,
The only other thing
that's
that I'll bring up, if I may, last year tax rates really took a steep nosedive, and I know part of that was our CLA going from 66.31% to a historic 140, almost 143%. And then when you also look at the $118 million buy down that the state did to artificially buy down tax rates for a year, I mean, almost a 39% decrease last year. I feel like it's kind of inevitable that we're due for a little bit of a course correction. That unfortunately it's an increase, and I think it's a question of how much of an increase are we willing to afford and support. But that's all.
well again, it's when you look at the information that's supplied to us, which is directly related to what Garrett just said, which is, what do we need to do the work of the district? And that's the numbers that are supplied to us and the vision supplied to us, from our administration, and then it is, like up to us to see how do we make that happen. And it isn't, I hear you when you say budgeting scared and whatnot, but at the end of the day, when you look at our budget, there are some progressive new programs that are being added by the administration within that budget that is being proposed. And that's the thing we ultimately have to support.
Well, I think that's the information that gets brought to the taxpayers, and then if they don't support that, hopefully they don't, but maybe they vote down the budget. But I feel like it's a disservice to every year just kind of wonder like, what do we need to cut? What do we need to, skirt around to make sure that the budget passes? I mean, what do we really need to make education great at Hartford? I feel like that's how the budget should start every year.
Well, I think it does.
I have some bias with, 2 little kids that are about to, really, carry on through their school career. But I mean, we talked about it last year, and I guess where I'm still at, that, what's the ideal budget? And I mean, an ideal budget and then like a responsible budget can be 2 different things a lot of the time. But what do we need to make Hartford great? instead of what do we need to help Hartford get by another year?
Well, I think, or at least from what I've been seeing, reviewing, what's been presented to us, and probably the best voice for that, it's Katie, as far as, sharing with us, are we growing our programs and our supports? Because when I think about it, you listen to what was stated today in the governor's speech when he was talking about teachers and the quality. We have done an incredible job with supporting, our teaching staff and our administrators as far as making them better. And we put thousands of dollars into that kind of programming, especially professional development. And that is clear. And Katie, maybe you can,
Sure.
share your perspective on that.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. I mean, again, what I would say is our district newsletters and all of our communication are exactly that. It's like, here is what we are offering to our students in terms of academics, in terms of opportunity, experience. This is what, you all are receiving for investing in education at the Hartford School District. So what you will see also through our annual report and in our continuation of the thread that we've been pulling through the district newsletters are that we're also fully realizing the vision of a graduate that we worked on all of last year. So, what you have continued to see throughout the year is that we're pulling that apart, and we've been focusing primarily on the aspects of the vision of a graduate that are focused on learn, right? And that's why you've seen what we're doing in terms of writing and reading and math, while also kind of sprinkling in, what you're seeing with our athletics programming, which continues to grow. And when you look at our performing arts and what they're achieving through that programming. So I think it's like a both and, right? I hear what you're saying, Garrett, in terms of like, hey, why don't we present something that's like, this is what we aspire toward, right? And my hope is that that's what we've been doing through the newsletter, is to like show, like, here's how we're realizing this vision. And over time, I think we are going to be able to inspect that even further to say, okay, we've audited, we've inventoried, and now we can say, this is what we need to push in order to get to the next level, right? And so that's an iterative process, and that is ongoing. But my hope is very much that in fully realizing this vision, all of the way in which we allocate resources are based on that as our reference and our guide. Here's where we are, here's where we want to be, and this is what you receive when you are a community member in the Hartford School District in relation to not only core academics, but what our students have opportunities to do with our co-curriculars and with all of our other opportunities and experiences that we're fortunate to share. So I think it's a both and I think it's going to be really important to continue to share all of those opportunities, experiences, all of that data. And that will also be, forthcoming in our annual report, which we've been working on in earnest. And that has also been something that we have been deriving a lot of content from our newsletters in order to like produce and present to the public. So I hear it all. And that would be my reflection on it right now. But I think in the coming like weeks and months, it's going to be about putting all those pieces together so that, the community understands what our purpose in sharing all of that has been as well. And that if we want to continue to offer what we are currently offering, which I would argue is a very robust experience that we're providing, you know, what Jacob is presenting through the numbers is like, this is us being able to continue to offer what we offer. And, you know, that is what that number is, right? It's really a level fund budget.
Did that help, Jacob?
Yes, thank you.
I think he was looking for a number, but
Yeah, I think he was
I think it
too.
helps.
But well, that's a direction.
It is. I think it's you know, if you talk to the taxpayers, and I'm one of them, and we're all one of them,
Right.
most of us on this call. I mean, and if they want to keep Hartford being a great school, then we need to continue providing the funding necessary to maintain it. I'm a little disgruntled about the unfunded legislative mandates that eat up part of our budget when we know that that's, you know, the PCBs and the lead testing and the stuff that's just thrown on our lap and we have no choice to get out of. And I'm not saying that we should. It's keeping everyone safe, but I feel like we should have some sort of an exception for that since it's, you know, state. But yeah, I think, you know, I don't see anything irresponsible in what we're doing. And I think we're trying to take, you know, our job here is to provide the education for the, you know, the vision of the graduate and also be responsible for the folks that put us in this place. And I don't see the numbers disagreeing with that right now.
Anyone else?
So that being said, I guess the question, you know, still remains, what are the marching orders, you know, for finance, so it can complete, you know, the budget process, so that he can actually give us, you know, an accounting for where we are.
I really don't know. So I'm going to rely on you guys on this. I don't have a clue. I shouldn't say it like that. I really just don't know.
I think I'm in the same bucket. I just, you know, from the amount of involvement from the community, it's not where I'd feel comfortable spitting out a number.
Well, okay, I guess.
Go ahead.
My suggestion, you know, would be that we go with that 3.1 because that's the rate of inflation. Because we've already heard that all of the work that's gone into the planning of the budget around programming and quality is within the range that the, you know, the state has allowed us without going over, and with the supports that we've gotten so far. You know, there's still some questions possibly around what are they going to do with the remaining money from the appropriations for PCBs. Okay, and how does that reflect, you know, on us collectively and that per pupil cost at the end of the day? But moving forward, you know, towards town meeting day, you know, locking into, you know, let's say the 3.1, that way Jacob can tell us, for example, how much new money do we have available to work with as we continue our negotiations.
Mhm.
But otherwise, right now, it's, we can't close those discussions. So, we need to be brave or whatever and say, okay, this is where we're going to be. And what we're hearing from our lead administrators is collectively they've woven our vision of what that student outcome should be. So I'm going to propose that we look at 3.1.
So my concern there is we know that that's where the inflation is, but we also know that we're going to face some challenging times where we're searching for two principals in the upcoming future. I don't know if that's factored into the budget. Aaron, three? I'm only seeing a two there. It's three.
Yeah, three
Okay.
admins.
That's right. So I mean, I think that there's going to be an added cost there. And potentially, we just discussed the new position for a safety officer the other week or last year. So I'm just wondering if that still keeps us within line for that, or do we go slightly higher than 3.1? Because if 3.1 is just going to cover the operational expenses, not including the repairs, yeah, I know we have some failing systems in the schools.
Right.
That's the part that scares me.
Well, it does more than that. And I think Jacob can, expound on it. But within that budget, are those positions.
Okay.
And
right. So I mean,
no, go ahead and tackle it, Jake.
I was just going to say, obviously, some maybe, shall we say, senior level administrators who might be on the higher end. You might actually get somebody that comes in actually a little bit less than them, but I mean, we never account for that because you don't know who you're going to get. But I mean, as the budget stands now, we basically have their position, their numbers in with whatever the proposed increase is. And I mean, we can talk about that a little bit more in the executive session as far as the potential salary increases for negotiations.
I'm curious about the search. I mean, so if we're using a firm for the search, is that factored into there as well? No. Yeah. So that's the part that I'm unsure of. I know the salary is in the budget itself, but actually landing on candidates and choosing one, I think might be an added financial cost.
Well,
Yeah,
we haven't in the past, used a firm. No, go ahead, Katie.
Yeah, we're not using a search firm. What we are spending some dollars on is just different places to advertise because we wanted to move beyond
Job boards and
we wanted to move beyond like School Spring, so we're advertising in like Ed Week and Digger and Valley News, and so that will come with like a little bit of costs, but nowhere near what you'd spend on a firm to lead those searches.
And just looking back over time, the process that we use, I feel has really blossomed, over, let's say the last, I won't say how many, but over time. And it keeps getting refined as far as our search process, our entry into the district. And that's been really cool. When we have administrators at any level meeting with the community, meeting with the school members, meeting with the kids, meeting with our teachers. Those are invaluable feedback. And what we've done is created a system of doing that. It isn't haphazard, so to speak. If anything, it just keeps getting refined. And I noticed, like in some of the um emails that Katie shares with us as the board, that you would see the request for input from the reminder. That's what I should say. It's like, don't forget to do your card after you left the session, whatever it might have been during that hiring process. That's pretty cool. And I'm curious, but and this is just for general discussion. Katie, would you be able to put not a formal number, but a rough number on the kind of feedback that we get, from that process?
Do you mean in terms of like survey data, or?
Yes. When after the candidates come to the district, and
Yeah, like feedback on the process of going through our hiring processes and what that was like for them.
yes, and the community, the school community, like teachers' feedback and things of that sort.
Sure.
Because I think that's a critical component, and it really shows that we're not just making a decision without a lot of input. If that makes sense.
It does.
Jacob, do you have anything else
And I know
for us that we can't answer?
I know Colin's online, and I know he mentioned it the last time, so I'll just say it for Colin and anyone else that might be interested. The projected ed tax rate sheet is included in the folder, but for anyone that's interested, the non-residential tax rate is 1.2669. So that's all.
Thanks, Jacob. Does anyone else have anything else on this subject before we move along? Okay, we will go to policy work. And I'll turn that over to Jeremy.
I can kick us off. I move that we approve the tobacco prohibition policy B7 that was warned on 12/17.
Are you
Second.
making? Go ahead.
Need
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Any opposed? So move then.
And this will serve as the official warning for the fingerprint-based criminal history record information, also known as the CHRI, and B1 for substitute teachers. Those are in the folder.
Okay, super. Okay, I'm going to just read the GP1, okay, because I have it here and I'll get it over to you tomorrow so that we can make sure that we get it into the minutes. Is that okay with you, Katie? Okay. The GP1 Global Governance Commitment for the Hartford School District, Vermont, isn't a separate committee, but the foundational policy B/SR1 defining the school board's role as the sole governing body, connecting with the superintendent, the operational organization, through established criteria for monitoring performance and ensuring alignment, with regular reports presented to the board. The board reviews compliance and sets expectations, and receives monitoring reports, ensuring the district meets the governance goals such as those outlined in GP1. What GP1 means for Hartford School District: the board's role. The Hartford School Board sets the direction and policies. The superintendent's role: the superintendent manages daily operations as the management. The connection, GP1 policy B/SR1, outlines how the board monitors the superintendent's performance and the district's success, ensuring they stay connected and aligned. Monitoring reports: the board receives reports to verify compliance with policies and ensure the organization meets its goals. In essence, GP1 is the framework for how the board governs, not a standing committee itself, but a core policy that governs the board's relationship with the entire district's management and outcomes. With respect to the provisions of its policy, GP1, the Hartford Board of School Directors concludes that its performance during this past year has been: 1, the purpose of the board on behalf of Hartford citizens is to see to it that the Hartford School District achieves appropriate results for students at an appropriate cost as specified in board end policies, and avoids unacceptable actions and situations as prohibited in board executive limitations policies. All of that is in compliance. My interpretation as a member of the Hartford School Board charged by the board to produce this monitoring report, I interpret GP1 to mean that the school board will: A, act on behalf of the citizens of Hartford. The board will work to provide an education to all the students who attend school districts, to attend district schools and programs which achieves and produces the results and outcomes that are laid out in the ends policies. And B, that this cost of providing such education will be appropriate in light of both the needs of the student body and the resources of the town. 3, that the board will oversee the performance of the superintendent of school in a manner that ensures that the superintendent does not allow the school district to be placed at financial, legal, or risk as a result of a failure to comply with the prohibitions and strictures contained in the executive limitation policies. My evidence was board agendas and board minutes. And I said that I felt that we were in compliance with this policy. Any further comments on that? Should we go to the monitoring report, EL3, relationship with staff, by Katie, please?
Sure thing. So my monitoring report for this meeting is Executive Limitation 3, relationship with staff. With respect to the treatment of paid and volunteer staff, the superintendent shall not cause or allow conditions that are unfair, undignified, disorganized, or unclear. There are a number of different subsections. There are 4. Number 1 is operate without written personnel rules that A, clarify rules for staff, B, provide for effective handling of grievances, and C, protect against wrongful conditions such as nepotism and grossly preferential treatment for personal reasons. Number 2, is discriminate against any staff member for non-disruptive expression of dissent. Number 3 is fail to acquaint staff with the superintendent's interpretation of their protections under this policy. And the 4th subsection is allow staff to be unprepared to deal with emergency situations. I'll provide an example under subsection 4. I interpret allow staff to be unprepared to deal with emergency situations as that I will ensure that all staff are informed and trained in emergency response procedures. I interpret emergency situation to mean any condition that threatens the safety and well-being of students and employees. And some of the evidence you can expect to see throughout this report, which I will not go through in its entirety because it's rather long and there's a lot of evidence embedded within it. So please see the board packet for my full report. But some of the evidence you can expect to see in relation, for example, for this subsection is that building safety procedures and expectations are clearly spelled out and explained in faculty meetings, as well as any security changes and entry protocols, and that those are brought to the attention of staff at the start of the year if there are changes over the summer. Our assistant superintendent, Erin Tomlinson, has been attending community situation table meetings, which also include other agencies and organizations in the community. The superintendent and assistant superintendent meet with school and district leaders twice a month and have opportunities to fine-tune our protocols at these meetings. Principals and directors facilitate school safety team meetings and regularly make suggestions on how the district procedures can be enhanced. Faculty identification badges are updated immediately when a change occurs, and annually student picture contracts include updating staff identification pictures. All rooms in each building have phones that are completely 911 compliant. Mandatory first aid training is conducted for all nurses and select school and district personnel on an annual basis. And there are a variety of other examples of evidence as well. I report policy compliance for this subsection and overall on our 4 subsections of the policy title. Any questions?
Katie. Does anybody have any questions or comments for Katie? Okay, thank you very much. We will go into public comment. The board welcomes public comments in order to accommodate as many community members' voices as possible. Anyone making a commitment will be given 2 minutes to speak. This is not a time for discussion, but the board is interested in hearing comments, concerns, and suggestions from the public. Do we have any? I can't see who else is on.
No one has raised their hand, so I'm going to assume no.
So I do have something for public comment, just okay. For me.
Sure.
So I figured I'd take this time to, I guess, formally announce that. So I'm not going to seek re-election for the board.
Oh.
Just wanted to take the time to let everybody know, and also just tell everybody, thank you sincerely. It's been great to work with all of you, both current board members and even, previous board members as well. All the administrators, staff, educators. It's been great to get to know the community I grew up in a whole different light as well. I've learned more in these last 2 years than probably in like any other role that I've ever taken before. I'm just crazy enough that I might run again at some point in the future. But right now, I just want to focus on my family, spend more time with my kids. I'm sure there are going to be a lot of coaching opportunities. I'm committed to, fulfilling my term, and I'm not going anywhere. So I'll be a taxpayer for a long time and a member of the community. So just wanted to let you guys know and say thank you.
Thanks, Garrett.
Thanks,
we'll expect you to be on all of future meetings anyways as a viewer anyway. So
perfect.
All right. Thank you, Garrett.
We do appreciate your work, Garrett. We really do. And we hope you do return at some point
Thank you.
when you're ready to come back.
When the kids are a little older.
Yeah, I got you.
When all the PCBs are fixed, right?
Exactly. That'd be
Yeah.
that'd be the perfect time, right?
Do we have any other public comment from either the public or the board? Is there anyone else online with us?
There's 4. I don't see any hands up.
Okay. All right, then. We will go to consent agenda, section 4, policy GP4. Katie, do we have any appointments, resignations, and or retirements?
Not at this time.
Whoa. And has everyone had a chance to look at the minutes from the last meetings?
Yep.
Do we have any corrections for that? Okay, do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. I do not have this in front of me. I'm sorry. Does somebody have the wording for the proposed executive session in front of them? Jacob always has it for us, and I didn't think to.
Yeah, no. So I think I move to find that
Hold on.
the discussion of labor relations and agreements with employees. I need to find it again because I have it usually saved.
Colin
see
is
if,
saying that Colin had emailed that he can't raise his hand.
Okay, let's just unmute him and let him speak then.
That'll be fine.
Can we
Can we unmute him?
I
Zach,
can't. I think he is now.
Okay.
Colin, can you unmute and see if we can hear you?
I see audio, but we can't hear you, Colin.
Mm.
Oh, there you are.
There, I see his face, but I don't hear him. We don't hear you, Colin. We see you. It's much like what Kathy was running into earlier.
Huh.
We still can't hear you, Colin.
If he can hear, if he's hearing you, maybe you can let him know to, re-admit.
Yeah, I was
Like-
gonna say, Colin,
Yeah.
try to drop and come back in. That's what worked for Kathy.
We'll wait.
Yep. And I will go to my email.
That gives you a chance to pull that phrase up.
Right.
I got it.
Thank you.
Cool.
Let's wait for Colin to get back in there. And can we promote him after he gets back in?
Should be able to.
I don't see him in the viewers yet. Oh, he's back.
Colin, we got you back. Can you see if you can unmute and We still don't have sound on you yet. So Colin, we've made you a contributor, but we still don't hear anything.
I mean, it might be a pain. Can you dial in with the number?
And you just dropped again.
While we're waiting for him, is there anyone else? No one else is raising their hands.
Nope. Did he email anyone? Jacob, did he email you?
Yeah, he emailed Nancy and I.
Okay.
All he said to me was he couldn't raise his hand. I'm sorry, I didn't see it.
So I see a phone number in there. Maybe he called in. Can we make the? Can we add
Yeah.
the? Can we add the phone number?
262. Yep.
So I'm unable to make him a contributor strategies and what would that mean?
I didn't catch that, Zach. Can you add the phone number that you wanted to be a contributor?
It is not letting me add him. Let me add the phone number. Got that?
You're not able to add the phone number?
Yeah, I'm unable to. It just won't let me. Yeah. It just says no.
Can somebody at least, I guess, email Colin back and just let him know that that's the case?
Mike left his phone number in an email, so I
Could you change the meeting setting just to allow viewers to speak? I don't think it'll be a free-for-all, so.
I will look to see if we can do that.
We can't change the meeting settings.
1 second. I'm looking through the settings right now. That long. So I do not see any way to let them look around on my screen before I actually say this.
Just email them. Send him my number. So if he call, so Colin, if you're on there and that is you and you can hear us, try to call my cell phone and I'll put you on speakerphone.
Yeah, I don't have his phone number, so. I just have his email.
The number dropped, so I'm hoping he's calling now. The number joined again.
You sent Colin your phone number, Jeremy?
I did.
Yeah. Hmm.
I'll keep my phone on me. But nope, wrong one. Turn the sound notifications on, but I have it right here if it should ring. But for the sake of time, we'll see if he can. I'll pause immediately if he calls. It's going to be a little tougher when we're in executive session. That's what's going to make it a little interesting.
We'll give him another couple of minutes to see if he calls you back.
Yeah.
And then we really need to get into executive session.
Yeah.
Still nothing, Jeremy?
No, I'm sending him another email to see if he'd like us to hold. He did not reply to the first one, so we'll see if
Okay.
he at least lets us know to just move forward.
Right.
He might be frustrated.
Nothing yet?
Nothing yet. I'd say give him another 2 minutes and we'll I'll
Okay.
read the motions.
Yeah. We'll all play the hand raising game. Yeah. I gotta put it back down, don't
All right, I moved, I'll read the motions now just to
Okay,
keep us
thank
moving
you.
along. I move to find that premature general public knowledge regarding labor relations agreements with employees clearly places the board at a substantial disadvantage because the board risks disclosing its negotiation strategy if it discusses labor relations agreements in public. Do I have a second?
Second.
I'm just demonstrating that this is me doing what we were trying to do and it's working. So if it was a technical thing, it's outside of what would normally happen. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it, Mike. Thanks,
you. Mike.
We have a motion and a second.
Yep.
Nancy, you want to call a vote?
Sorry, yeah, something popped up on my screen there for out of the blue. Yes, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
All right.
Okay, the motion carries.
And now I move to enter executive session for the purpose of discussing labor relations agreements with employees under 1 VSA section 313A1.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion carries.
Nancy, are you inviting anyone else in?
No. Oh, well, just, go ahead.
Yeah.
Mike, we're going to a different link for the executive session.
Yeah.
Well, I think we have to come back to the
We
public
have, we have
stream.
to come back and close out. I'm sorry. Okay.
Thanks, Mike.
Jacob, do you want anybody else in there, Jacob?
I would propose to the board to invite Katie and Aaron into the executive session as well, please.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Okay. So Who are we missing? Kevin?
Kevin. Yeah.
We lost all of the public.
Yeah.
Figured that would happen.
Mhm.
Do I need to wait on Kevin?
We're over here.
There he is right
He's
there.
here. I got him right there.
There he is. Okay. And the board has come out at
8:24.
Turn my page over. 8:24 out of executive session and no action required. We need a next board meeting is the 14th, and that is going to be a special board meeting. Is that correct, Katie? That's what's here.
Yes, because we're
Yeah.
going to be
Yep,
using
that's
that
next
to
week.
finalize the budget.
Right. Okay. Meeting evaluation for tonight. Who's got it?
I'm looking for my cheat sheet here. It's usually on the agenda, right? Nope, it's not on the agenda.
I have a white screen now.
I can read it off if somebody
There.
wants to chip
What's
in.
that?
Hold on.
Sure, you
Board has
I got it.
meeting.
Okay.
Jeremy's got it.
Yeah. My pile. At the end of the board meeting monitoring. The board was prepared for the meeting, satisfactory. Board's time was spent on ends, not means, satisfactory. Each board member was given opportunity to participate, satisfactory. Board treated all persons with courtesy and fairness, satisfactory. Board adhered to Robert's Rules of Order, satisfactory. Board adhered to its adopted governance style. It emphasized outward vision. It encouraged diversity in viewpoints. It exercised strategic leadership, not administrative detail. It maintained distinction between board and staff roles. It used collective decision-making, and it looked to the future. Satisfactory.
Thank you very much. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
And we do not need a second, and we are adjourned. Katie, are you still on?
Are we still on
Katie?
for? Yep.
Yeah, Katie, I have a question. If you can hold on for a few minutes.
Don't do it here.